Welcome to our new playthrough of Medieval Dynasty. In this playthrough, we've already changed some things up and we are testing something new. We are doing 1 day seasons. As we discussed in other videos, the 3 day seasons are just too long. The game quickly proves to be, well, it's not too easy. I wouldn't say that it's easy, but once you have learned the mechanics of the game and you know the things that you have to do, you get through things really quick. And well, after about 8 to 9 years, you're done. There's nothing else left to do. And then you have to stand around and wait for things to happen in your village, for the children to grow up and for your village to slowly expand. So what we're hoping by doing a 1 day season is that we're just not going to have the time to get everything done that needs to be done. It'll take almost a season to build a house, take a season to travel around the map if we need to go and visit a bunch of the other villages, that sort of thing. And the hope just is that we'll stretch things out a little bit, go a little longer. Also, what we'll do, because of that, I think the series will progress a lot faster. You just see more changes per episode that comes out because more things will just happen time-wise. As you can see, we have already done a couple of seasons here, and that was the start of everything. This is where we kind of got ourselves set up. We picked a lot of berries, we bought some important equipment, and we are now currently traveling down towards where we are going to start our village. And if you haven't seen the video that came out of the start of it, make sure you go and check among our other videos. We have a sort of a tutorial, a little bit of a best practices if you want a solid start to the game. It does involve a lot of berry picking, but it will give you a nice way to start really any game that you're going to play in Medieval Dynasty. I'm going to take the opportunity to pick some berries on our way over there. Again, berries is fantastic for money, right? And you can only get them in the spring and the summertime. And since we are playing 1 day seasons, we got to take every opportunity we can to pick up some stuff. Now, I do have to make sure that I build a house before the seasons change. We don't want to spend more time sleeping at a fire pit or just like a little campfire. We need ourselves a home. But while I lay the groundwork for our village, why don't you lay the groundwork for yourself a little bit? Go over there, check out the like button, and maybe even the sub button. Both of those will give you a solid foundation in getting into both this game, this series, and even to our channel. The spot that we have chosen for our village is east of Hornica in the southeast corner of the map, here on the east side of the lake. This is a really solid spot. Not only does it have a lot of flat space with a lot of trees growing on it, it also has water, both running water where you can, grab a quick drink as you're moving through the village, but also a larger body of water where we can do fishing from. To the south of us, up in the mountains, there is a cave for easy access to mining. Plus, of course, Hornica is one of the richer towns in the game. It's normally pretty far away from everything, but it has wealthy people that live there. They do trade in a lot of iron and that sort of thing. Plus, horses are available in that town. So it's not a bad town to have close by. If you are one of the people that like to use the unstuck spot to move around, this location isn't that far away from the unstuck spot, probably 800 meters or so. So it's a little bit of a hike, but still pretty solid. Now, I did mention earlier that we had done some groundwork before we just got into building this town. We started the game out by picking a lot of berries. We hit up several towns, including Gostovia, both of the B towns, Bronica and Baronica. We've been to Lesnica. And at this point in time, we have not only talked to a lot of people in those towns and tried to start the recruiting process, we have also picked up a good amount of starting equipment. We have a backpack, we have a pouch, which has increased our carrying capacity from 35 to 56. We have gotten ourselves a recurve bow and iron arrows so that hunting is easy. And as some of you might have seen, there's an actual bear or two that roam the area around where this village is that we can easily take care of. And we have a pickaxe. There is, like I said, a mine right here, and we are going to be utilizing that pickaxe fairly early to make sure that we have the kind of houses and the kind of equipment that we need for this town to grow. Especially since we are doing the one-day seasons and things are going to go pretty quick. The other thing that we're going to make sure that we do here in pretty short order is to go back to Gostovia, talk to Unigast to let him know, that we have our house set up, all that kind of stuff, because he will then give us the follow-up quest, which, if you remember, is to go and talk to the hunter and then ultimately building the wall around Danica and those things. Part of that quest line, he will give you some fur boots, and I think it's like a fur hat or a cape or something like that, which is going to be critical for winter time because it gets cold in the winter, and well, with one-day seasons, the winter is going to be really quickly approaching. I'm going to make sure we do that so we have those items. Obviously, we could have probably gone another way around and picked berries and purchased them, but we'll do that when we know that Unigast will give that to us. And here we go. Our first house is set up. Gonna get some traps and things going as well. We, of course, got to make sure that we get our hunting experience, any other things going, because they will unlock certain building options. And some of the building options that we're going to need early is the hunting lodge, and we are going to need the wood shed. There's still some time left, so I think what we'll do is we'll utilize the night to do Unigast's mission. And the easiest way to do that is just we're gonna unstick over there just to get quick, travel close to Gostovia. We'll run through Unigast's mission, we'll get the clothing that we need, and if we have time, we'll talk to some people in the area as well, see if we can recruit somebody. We didn't get quite everything done that we wanted to get done. We ran out of time, but we have spoken to Sambor. The next thing we got to do is talk to Unigast and just kind of secure that, make sure that we have that equipment, and then we can take the rest of the quest whenever we feel like it. We've also spoken to a lot of the people in those towns that we moved by, and they're ready to get recruited. However, we don't have a place for them to live. So the first thing on our agenda for the fall is going to build another house. Now, a lot of people are going to say, you're going to need the storage building, you're going to need a food storage building, and that is just not true. It makes life easier to have them, but you don't need them. The villagers require firewood and they require food for their morale not to drop, but they don't need to have a centralized location to pick them up. You can simply create the product and then drop them off in that chest that is inside their home. And that is enough for them to access. That works the same way or your wife, if you drop them in the chest in your house, she can access it. And in the beginning, when you only have one couple or maybe a couple of houses, you can do that extra work. You can just run and do that and drop that off. Sure, you're going to ultimately need to get the storage buildings because you can't be bothered doing this work the whole time yourself. But in the beginning, to get some people in quick and get started on some of the important collection jobs that they have, this is perfectly fine. Of course, another reason why you don't want to be running around sticking food in the chest on people's houses all the time is the food will rot. It rots a lot faster in that chest than it rots in the storage build. You want to get a storage building up when you can, but you don't have to delay getting people in just because you're waiting for a storage building. It is still fall. I did jump ahead a little bit just to finish up that house and to get the first person invited in to come and live in our village. You can see top left-hand corner that there's a person that doesn't have food and a person that doesn't have any firewood. Of course, this is the same person living in that second house that we finished up. So we're going to cook up a little bit of meat for them. We don't have a ton. It doesn't matter. We're gonna grab some logs and we're just gonna put it in the chest in their house, and you'll see here that it's perfectly fine to do this just for a little bit, just to kind of get you over that initial hump of getting people in, because our goal now is to bring people in. We're gonna want to bring 2 people in as fast as we can. We want to set up a hunting lodge and we want to set up a woodshed. The hunting lodge, of course, is to bring in food or initially, and then they can do some other stuff. And the woodshed is for firewood and logs for construction. Now, both those things have been put in, and the need has gone away. That person now has what they want. But now, what we're looking at, like I said, is we'll put up a woodshed. This is going to help in big parts into bringing in building material, right? If I can have them collect logs, then I don't have to collect as many logs. I can do other things. And then, of course, if the hunter is getting food, originally at least they will do food, and then we can kind of change them to do some other stuff. There are some good things with feathers and whatnot that the hunter can do. And then we can bring in material that way. Long before we've built a storage building or a food storage building. Now again, like I said earlier, the food will spoil faster if it's placed in the chest of somebody's house, in the storage chest. However, you can use that a little bit to your advantage, because you will, and you probably already know this, if you have a hunter out there actively hunting, you will make a lot of meat. And if that spoils a little bit and becomes rotten food, well, that cuts down on the cost of you having to buy fertilizer if you got to get into any type of farming or anything like that. You just use the rot and you turn that into your fertilizer. And what I'm doing right now is I'm taking advantage of the fact that we laid the groundwork for this playthrough by getting ourselves a recurve bow and iron arrows. And I'm going to make sure that I do some of the hunting, because getting your level up in hunting is important so that you can actually build the hunting lodge. It requires a little bit of hunting from you to gain that experience. And then once you hit hunting lodge and you put somebody in there, the experience will come on its own because of that villager. It's going to work. in that building. So we'll do a little bit of hunting. Here's me being an absolutely terrible hunter. They still love for you to do the headshots. I don't understand that really, but you know, hitting an animal in the lungs like, you know, normal hunting maybe, that really doesn't matter in this game. It's all about the headshots. So we're gonna do that, and then I'll show you the other thing we're doing to kind of bring our bring some of our skills up and get ready for some of the things that we're gonna build. Now, we still got more hunting that we need to do to get our hunting skill high enough to allow us to build a hunting lodge. But before fall time ends, I wanted to show the other thing that we're doing to set us up solid with this village. We picked a spot that is close to a cave with mineable resources. And I would really suggest that unless you are doing some sort of challenge or you really want to do something completely different, finding a location for your village that is close enough to a mine where you can do the mining on your own and, you know, not wait until you actually get the mining building, that is a very strong start for the game. Of course, you get skill towards the woodshed and all those things by collecting things. Normally this happens in the game by you chopping down trees, right? The start of the game is a lot about chopping down trees. Here we are going to get a lot of that point by mining. We have our pickaxe that we bought earlier, and everything is just lined up here. You could spend half a season, maybe even the whole season in this cave just mining away. The rock or the stones that we get out of here are going to be important for some of our buildings. The iron, of course, is going to come in handy later once we get into iron tools. And there's also salt in here if you want to go with some sort of economy that might utilize salt. I've been thinking that maybe this town that we're doing, since it's here and it has the lake, maybe we'll do fishing and we concentrate our economy on salted fish. Could be fun, could be something different. So I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to harvest this place, just mine until I have a good amount of resources and my skill has gone up to the point where I can build the woodshed. Now, if there is something in here that you don't want, and I had mentioned this in an earlier video, if you go in to a cave and you mine and you say, well, I don't want the salt because I'm not going to use the salt, or I don't want the rocks because I love to have houses built out of sticks, don't pick it up. Just leave it on the ground, never touch it, and when the game goes to the next season, it'll just delete that kind of stuff off the ground. And then you don't have to worry about it ever again. I ended up spending the last of the fall dragging a bunch of the rocks that we had mined down to our village. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wattle building that we had built for the person that is living in the village with us now, and I'm changing the walls to stone. We have great access to stone, and there's really no need now for that person to be living in a house that, well, it's cold. Wattle has the worst insulation, and obviously stone has much better insulation. So we are tearing down the walls, and we're replacing the walls on it. He'll be fine being homeless for a little bit. He doesn't have a job anyway. And as long as I do this quick, he's not going to get mad enough to leave the town. And as soon as the building is done, we'll just tell him, hey, you can move straight back in. The stuff that we left in the chest is still in the chest. As you know, you don't have to empty the chest until you tear the entire building down or the foundation. We don't have access to any planks or anything, so the straw roof will stay, but we will give him the stone walls. Turns out I didn't have exactly all the stones I needed, but I'll pick some up. We'll finish up the building, and now he will have a stone building with a straw roof, and his mood should go up. And the great thing about having the stone house now is that his mood will increase because he lives in a nicer house, better insulation, all that stuff. Higher mood makes him learn things faster. So really the goal, right, is to get him into the best house that you can, the best insulation, whatnot. And that goes for everyone in your village, so that they learn faster. And that is pretty easy when you're living close to a mine like we are doing here. I should finish this house, but apparently I'm gonna get into hunting bears instead. We're getting a little bit close to the town. These bears should despawn soon, or stop spawning soon. Once we build something on the other side of that little creek, they will stop spawning. And then we don't have to worry about the bears anymore. But in the meantime, I can keep them away with my bow and arrow. And there, his house is done. Is now stone. And we're just moving right back in. And his mood should start going up pretty steadily now, because he has a much higher level house. Well, thank you so much for coming out. That bear decided to come out as well, so we will make sure that he is gone. I think he has a friend out here someplace. We'll get that one. Yeah, there he is, up there in the mountains. So we'll get this one, and we get the other guy too. Again, thank you for coming and hanging out, and for checking out this first episode on our one-day seasons. We will obviously continue this. Our next step in this town is going to put up those buildings for them, the woodshed and the hunting lodge, and get some more people in. And hopefully I will see you on the next episode. Oh, it's just a guy hanging out. That's not... This is more boring than I thought it would be.
Egger. I can't. Oh my god! I was typing.